Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/ProRevenge. Today, we have one more set of great revenge stories. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. And our first story. Family assumes my driveway is a free parking spot. This happened to me a few years ago. I'd recently moved to the north of Scotland where I live now and was staying with my mum and stepdad while getting a house sorted. They went away on holiday for a fortnight, so missed all the fun. I came home from work one afternoon, started at 4 o'clock and finished at 13:30 to find a car blocking the driveway into my house. Having a small car, I parked at the top of the drive, blocking them in. My parents live out in the sticks on a single-track road, so I couldn't leave my car where it was because I would have been blocking the road. After an hour, I saw someone approaching the drive and taking pictures of my car. I went out and confronted them, and the conversation went like this. Me: "Why are you taking pictures of my car?" EP: "Because you parked illegally and blocked my car in. I'm going to call the police if you don't move your car from my neighbor's drive." Me: "This is clearly my parents' drive. Did you not think it was odd to have to walk out of someone's garden to get into a neighbor's?" "Well, it wasn't very clear. So can you move so I can get out?" So I get my keys and move, then park my car and think nothing of it. Next morning I leave for work and once again find the same car parked in my parents' drive. This time I go knock on my neighbor's door and ask him to get his friend to shift it, only for my neighbor to ask, "What friend?" I pointed to the car and told him what had happened yesterday. Turns out the Pratt wasn't his friend at all, but liked to walk around the woodland path near our houses. 20 minutes later, he finally appears, smirks, and moves before saying, "I'll be parked here tomorrow, too." So once again, I go to work at stupid o'clock, and when I get back, lo and behold, the Pratt is parked there again. This time I decided to teach him a lesson. I had 2 days off, so I went to the shops and got some shopping and a rather large amount of alcohol, Strongbow and Savannah dry cider if you're interested. Got home, parked as close to his car as I could, making sure I was safely off the road. I went inside, made some dinner, and started drinking. About an hour later, there's a banging on the door. Me: "Yes?" EP: "Move your car. It's blocking me in, and my family wants to go home." I look out, and there's his rather embarrassed-looking family sitting in their car. Me: "Sorry, can't," as I took another drink from my cider. "Been drinking for a couple hours, probably over the limit, so I don't want to risk it." "What? Why are you drinking when you knew I'd be wanting to move my car?" "I'm off for the next 2 days, so I fancied a drink." "I'm calling the effing police." "You do that." Before shutting the door and popping into the lounge to watch TV while also watching them through the window. About 2 hours, apparently the police had trouble finding my house, LOL. Later, the police arrive and speak to EP before they knock on my door. "Yes, officers, how can I help?" "Why are you stopping EP from leaving?" So I began to explain the events of the previous days and mentioned how I told him he couldn't park there. I also explained that I'd been drinking, was probably over the limit, so I couldn't risk moving my car. The police officers agreed that I was correct to not drive while intoxicated. They then asked what insurance I had. I pointed out that it was named driver only, basically means that only people whose name is on the insurance can drive my car, so they couldn't move it for me. "Come on, just make him move his car." The police officer says, "Just going to get the breathalyzer. Blow into this, please." "Yeah, you're about 2 times the legal limit, so I'm sorry, but you can't move your car." The police officer says, "Sorry, but he's over the limit. You'll have to leave your car here and come back tomorrow." "What? But how are we meant to get home?" Me: "Bus stop about 2 miles down the road. You'll get the bus to insert city at this time or insert town at this time." "But the bus doesn't go anywhere near where we live." "We can call you a taxi," the police say, "if you want, but you'll need to pay for it." "He did this deliberately." "Yup, LOL. Fast forward to the next day when the police return with him in their car, and before they asked me to move my car, they decided to have some fun. Police Officer 1: "We just want to check you with the breathalyzer again." Big deep breath. EP looking more and more worried. "You're fine," Police Officer 2 says. "You can move your car, please." Me: "Of course, officers." Police Officer 1 to EP: "Don't park your car here again." EP couldn't even look at me, just got in his car and drove off. Later that day, I decided to build a gate for my parents. And our next story. Cheat on me? Enjoy your new life. Me and my friends sometimes hang out with a guy we'll call Mark. Now, Mark is in his 40s, happily married to a woman. They have 2 kids in their teens. I will tell this story as accurately as possible from what Mark told us. As you all know, married life can many times get boring with 9-to-5 jobs, mundane life in a small-time village. Kids are growing up, so you don't have to look after them 24/7 anymore. So you do what you can to make life interesting. You get a dog, start some hobbies, etc., or so at least Mark thought. He thought that his happy little life would last forever. Wrong. Mark found out through the grapevine that while he was playing sports, being at work, trying to break the boring life they were having, his wife, let's call her Mandy, was attending to some hobbies of her own. Hobbies that included getting real passionate with another man from a few towns over. At first, the rumors didn't bother him. They were rumors after all, but something in Mandy's behavior started to change. No more funny time with Mark. She started to get distant. No more talking, just yelling, being annoyed, etc. It went on for a few months. This struck Mark as off, and one time after we were done playing soccer, he asked us what to do. We came up with several pieces of advice, like confronting her. But Mark didn't want to ruin his marriage over some mood swings and a rumor, so he did what every sane man would do. He set up cameras all through the house. I'm talking about PI quality stuff here. He had cameras in the bathroom, living room, their bedroom, basically everywhere but the room of his children. He updated us on his new hobby and his setup, and things cooled off for a few weeks. After a few weeks, after soccer time, we went out for a few beers. Mark wasn't quite himself, so we inquired what was wrong. He told us that he had, after several nights of reviewing tape, found out that Mandy indeed was cheating on him. He was furious. They were married 20-plus years, and they were high school sweethearts with 2 boys, and she betrayed him. Now comes the revenge part. He didn't confront her right away. Mark formulated a plan. Living only a few towns over, he had no problem getting the guy's phone number. Now you all know those pesky advertising companies who call you to get you to buy products, right? Mark pretended to be one and called the guy with the pretense he was selling him some body cleansing pills and other stuff. He knew the guy was overweight, and being quite a smooth talker, he didn't have much problem getting him hooked. He got the guy's first and last name, which he already knew, his address, social security number, job address, and some other stuff that didn't really matter to the story. He told the guy he was in a ballot for different prizes from the company he was working for, and he'd stay in touch in case the guy won anything. After that came part 2. While Mandy was at work on a Friday, he packed all the stuff she owned, clothes, jewelry, collectibles, and other stuff into the family car. They have a VW Touran, so everything she had easily fit in. When Mandy came home from work, he told her they were going on a trip. At first, she was against it, but again, the smooth talking convinced her to roll over pretty quick, and she got into the van with him. Before that, he took the boys to one of our friends' house. They weren't 18 yet, and he's a responsible father, and off they went. Where did they go, you ask? Remember how he called the guy Mandy was cheating with? I think you know the answer. Sadly, or very hilariously, Mandy had no clue. He took her, all her belongings, to the guy's address and called him on the way, telling him to come outside. He said he won the first prize and was on his way to give it to him personally. Mandy still had no clue. She thought he was just pranking one of his friends. I believe you realize by now that she isn't the brightest one in the world. Imagine her and the guy's face when he rolled into the parking spot of the guy's house and stepped out of the car, shook the guy's hand and told him, "Here's your prize, sir. I believe you know what it is." Took one last look at Mandy's white face and walked off. He got custody of both kids since he was better off than her, also told the judge she was cheating and that's why he was divorcing her. This all happened last year, and as far as we know, the guy was an A-grade a-hole and she left him soon after that, after a few beatings. Mark got over her after some time and a lot of alcohol, but he and his boys are doing great. They were both big enough to realize their mom was at fault and still barely talk to her when they go to visit. She tried to return into Mark's life on a few occasions, but he did the smart thing and told her to F right off. And our last story. Dishonest neighbor finds himself unable to sell his house. Years ago, my neighbor was trying to sell his house during the fall, and he was selling it for incredibly more than it was worth, almost 6 figures higher. To make the property seem worth that figure, he would wake up early in the morning and take a leaf blower and blow the leaves past his front lawn into our backyard, and then some, making it seem like his front yard went all the way to our driveway and also included our beautiful tree, older than all the homes in the area combined. We never had a backyard fence because his kids were my age and we'd all play on the swing attached to that tree together. We were all cool. My dad wasn't too keen on this because he didn't want to get in a property dispute with the new owner, so he found the official property lines, and guess what? His front lawn ended about 3 feet from his house. So my dad bought some little stakes with orange ribbons and hammered them into the ground to show where the actual property line was. Next day they were gone, thrown into the woods that surround us. My dad fetched them, nailed them back in, and knocked on the door asking him to cut the crap. Next day, gone once again with a passive-aggressive note on our door. My dad is a rather intimidating guy when frustrated, and he was apparently too scared to be confrontational, saying we need to just be cool with it and let him do his scam so he can sell the house. My dad then decided to up the ante and went to a hardware store and bought 4 12-foot iron rods, took out his ladder, and used the backside of an axe to nail it about 8 to 9 feet into the ground, then watered the grass or did something so it couldn't just be yanked right out. Now there were just 4 ugly rods poking out of the lawn with bright orange ribbon tied to the top. My family goes away for a weekend, came back Monday, and all 4 are gone, tossed into the woods, and our backyard in those 4 spots are trashed with little holes from where he spent hopefully a long time digging those bad boys up. Obviously, my dad was furious, and he just silently stood there for about 20 minutes with a burning rage deep inside, and our entire family could hear him scheming. He turned around, hopped back in the car, and disappeared for hours, only to return with a tow truck coming behind him. He popped over to a junkyard, found essentially a frame of a car, and bought it for its worth in metal, then had it shipped to his backyard, which he plopped just before that property line. My dad walked into our house like a great conqueror, saying, "Let's see him throw that into the woods." The neighbors showed up later that afternoon, followed by prospective buyers who just stood in his driveway, gawking at the junker 4 feet from the house. He tried to brush it off, and as soon as they left, he came over just yelling about how he's going to call the cops on us and home association for depreciating the value of his property, which my dad said, "Sure, go ahead. I'll let him know about what you've been pulling for the past few weeks." Eventually, they came to the agreement that the junker would leave the yard if he paid to have it removed and shipped away, and ever since, he stopped messing with the yard and stopped messing with the leaves. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.